ברוך אתה ה' אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. There is no doubt that the individual that left his personality imprinted on the history of the Jewish people more than anybody else is Moses. Moses took the Jewish people out of Egypt, led them for 40 years in the desert until the doors of the promised land, where he died just before entering the promised land. Actually, Moses was raised in Pharaoh's palace. The daughter of Pharaoh adopted him as her own child. He grew up as a prince in the court of the Pharaoh. He could have been a very important member of that government. Who knows what heights he could have reached there. But there was a different type of blood that went through his veins. He felt for his Jewish brethren, for the Hebrews. He felt for the slaves, and he devoted his entire life to do something for the Jewish people. As a matter of fact, he had no personal life. We don't know much about his relationship with his wife. He left her for a while. His sons, he had two of them, Gershom and Eliezer. They appear a couple of times in the Torah and simply disappear. Apparently, he dedicated 25 hours of the day for the Jewish people, leading the Jewish people, fighting for the Jewish people, arguing with God for the Jewish people. His entire life was dedicated for the welfare of the people he loved. Well, he was an extraordinary leader, but he didn't last forever. He was mortal. God said that he could lead the Jewish people until the entrance of the promised land. Why that is so, that is a separate issue. But he was going to die. So who was going to be his successor? That was a big problem. Could have been maybe his sons, but his sons disappeared. He didn't do much for them. So who was going to be his successor? There was a grandson of Aaron, Pinchas, Phineas in English. He did something extraordinary. There was a man by the name of Zimri who took a princess of the Moabites by the name of Cosbi, and he had relations in front of everybody, in front of Moshe, when Moses said that you had to separate yourself from the Midianite women, because the Midianite women were trying to attract them to idol worship, and that was a contradiction to what they had just learned about one God in this world. So this man, Phineas, Pinchas, came and solved the situation. He took care of what had to be done. So maybe he should have been the leader of the Jewish people. He showed initiative. He showed what you have to do in a moment of danger, how to react. But he wasn't chosen. There were 12 spies that were sent to look and see what kind of land Israel was. 10 came back with a very negative report. We cannot do anything about it. But 2 of them were positive. One of them, Caleb, spoke for them, and he said, we certainly can overcome any obstacle and we can conquer the land. Caleb wasn't chosen either. You know who was chosen? Joshua, Yehoshua. He was the one that also was positive about the land of Israel, but he hardly spoke. We hear very little of him in the Torah, but he was close to Moses. He always followed him. He knew all his mannerisms. Maybe he knew a lot about Moses, but one thinks it's not the same caliber. Moses had an imposing personality. His brother Aaron was an imposing personality. His sister Miriam. We are now dealing with a different kind of leadership. What is going on? Well, it seems there is a period of transition. While our ancestors were in the desert, manna came down from heaven. All they had to do in the morning was to collect the food in order to survive. Now they were going to go into a land of their own. They would have to take care of the land. They would have to plant things. They would have to do many processes before they would be able to eat anything. They would have to tend. They have to have a process of agriculture like everybody else. Yet the Torah says, don't you think that because you are doing everything in order to produce food, that God doesn't intervene. It's ve'achalta, you will eat and you will be satiated, and you have to bless God. In the desert, you saw how the manna came down from heaven. But don't think that a seed becomes something edible just by itself. There is energy that somehow God provides in order for you to be able to eat. In other words, God was apparent. He was visible while they were in the desert. There was a cloud that guided them during the day and a pillar of fire that guided them at night. They knew exactly where to go, what road to choose. Everything was mapped out for them. But now when they came to their own land, they would have to start fending for themselves. It was going to become more of a democratic process. Now, actually, the people were the ones that would have to decide what to do. Even though they elected a king later on, that wasn't the same kind of charismatic personality as Moses was in his time. So what we really are dealing now is with a new process, a new situation. There is a new prism that is going to appear before the Jewish people. We are now dealing with the power of the people, not anymore with these charismatic leaders. And in fact, this is a sign of maturity, how you have to transition from very strong leadership to the leadership of the people. And today, this is what we have, thanks to these very strong leaders that inculcated into us the Torah, the most important principles of ethics and morals by which to conduct our lives.